Growing up, whenever I would ask my mom, who is your fashion icon? She would always say, Sophia Loren or Marilyn Monroe, who were not necessarily selling fashion, but they were selling fantasies. They were movie stars. Whenever I asked my sister the same question, who is now in her late 30s, who is your fashion icon? She would always say Coco Chanel, who is the definition of a fashion icon and a very much live brand today. But I always felt very differently about the question whenever I thought about it. I always felt like my fashion icon is my mom, or my first grade teacher, or the girl who lived next door who always looked sophisticated and effortlessly beautiful. Or most recently, it's been my sister. It's another sister. I always saw them within the real context of their own lives. And then I realized something. I realized I define fashion differently. I define it by relevancy, transparency, and purpose. But this is not only true for me. This is true for my generation, the millennials. And this is exactly what social media has capitalized on. It capitalized on influence versus affluence, which is unfortunately why most of us can name the family members of the Kardashians, but not necessarily be able to name, let's say the president of Lithuania, who is Dalia Grybauskaitė, by the way. And yes, I Googled it. We are a generation that is driven by a culture of purpose, demanding transparency and engagement every step of the way, whether that's been translated into the emergence of the organic food movement over the past few years, or by supporting political candidates like Bernie Sanders, who is the first political candidate to be crowdfunded. These are the forces that are shaping the fashion industry today. When I was applying to grad schools 2 years ago, I was looking at programs across the US and Europe, and I was just browsing and seeing what my options were. And my options were pretty much either fashion design or fashion merchandising or fashion business. And while I fully recognize the need for expert fields and expertise, generally speaking, as an entrepreneur, I felt like I needed something more flexible, something that is going to provide me with the right tools to be able to explore and find my own answers and problem solve within a greater context. And especially with today's technology, actually, technology has really blurred the lines between what separates industries, and everything has become super interconnected. So I was lucky enough to stumble upon this program, Strategic Design and Management at Parsons, which is entirely based on design thinking. Now, what is design thinking, and why do I strongly believe that it is the answer to the fashion system's lingering problems? I don't know why this is moving super fast, but I believe so because I found the answers in design thinking. And here's my thought process. Design thinking is based on empathy, co-creation, testing, rapid prototyping, and it is the ideal process to not only reevaluate the fashion system's challenges, but also to be able to address them efficiently. The first and biggest challenge that is known today for the biggest industry is, of course, its environmental impact. It is the second largest polluting industry in the world after oil and gas. And then we have the second challenge, which is its lack of human-centered design. And what I mean by that is how painful high heels are. I mean, those were definitely designed with no human body function in mind. Our feet are flat on the ground for a reason, yet here I am wearing them anyways. And last but not least, the need for new business models, whether that means restructuring the wheel entirely or looking closely at the supply chain and maybe eliminating the middleman, whatever it is. Now, I'd like to talk to you about two examples. These examples are fashion brands that have emerged over the past few years in the fashion industry and have been catalysts of change. They have done it entirely by depending on design thinking. The first one is Glossier. Glossier is a beauty brand that started off as a blog back in 2010, a beauty blog. This is Emily Weiss, the founder of the blog and the brand. And 3 to 4 years in, around 2014, she decided to launch her own beauty products line. And what's really interesting about this specific business model is that it entirely depends on co-creation. Co-creating every single product with their consumers. How does that go? How's that like? So, for example, if they wanted to come up with an acne beauty product, they would send out on the blog a question to their million plus readers, and they would ask them, what is your dream beauty product? And they would collect the feedback, narrow it down to 3 features, develop a prototype, send it out to their readers, test it, collect feedback, and so on and so forth until they got it right, until they developed the dream product. Today, Glossier has raised over $86 million in funding, and it's been a worldwide beauty brand hit used by celebrities and world-renowned makeup artists. The second example I'd like to share with you is Rent the Runway. Rent the Runway started off back in 2009. It started off as just an e-commerce platform renting luxury clothing items to consumers at 10% of their original retail price for 8 days. Now, what's brilliant about this business model, it's actually my favorite, is that it is the Spotify and Netflix of fashion. It has completely capitalized on the access economy. And what's even better is that it happens to be fully environmentally sustainable. And on top of that, it's faster than fast fashion. And according to ThreadUp, retail and rental fashion are going to actually dominate the market by 44% in 2020. That's 2 years from now. So to sum up, design thinking promotes agility, collaboration, and openness. It bridges the gap between the creative competence and collective intelligence that exists in the fashion industry. It is also key to empowering the next generation to become their own fashion icons by actively engaging, problem solving, and innovating. Thank you so much.